All right, everyone, we're just about a minute in, so we'll kick it off. Welcome to our Romance Studies information session. We're so glad to have you all here today. Just a first note that we are broadcasting from the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territory of the Musqueam people, and we acknowledge that many of you joining remotely are also on traditional land. I recommend that you take some time to look at the native land that you are currently situated on and do some research to know the traditional caretakers. Just a note that today's session will also be recorded and available, uploaded on our YouTube in the next couple of days for review in case you have things that you missed that you want to cover again, or if you want to share this with a friend who might be interested. With that being said, I will let Dr. Elizabeth Lagresa Gonzalez start us off.
Well, hello, everyone, and thank you so much for that introduction. It's a pleasure to be here with you today to talk about Romance Studies, and also please feel free to ask me questions at any point, especially during the chat. We're very, very happy to answer any questions that you might have. So first, to kind of give an idea of what is Romance Studies, and in a nutshell, Romance Studies, the name Romance comes from the Romance languages. So we have French, Spanish, Italian, Portuguese, Catalan, and there's a number of other Romance languages and related languages to that. But in our department in particular, we focus on those. And they all derive from Latin. So we don't just look as well at the countries that speak those languages, but we also look at cultures and literatures that are associated with the Romance-speaking world, which is much broader and wider. So that's why you see that the Romance world includes Europe, North and South America, the Caribbean, the Middle East, Africa, and even Southeast Asia and beyond. So it's a very vast and transnational and interdisciplinary perspective that we hope to apply through Romance Studies. And in our studies, we also focus on those of the past and the present, so of yesterday and today, and all courses are taught in English. But we also incorporate a linguistic aspect to it as well, which we want you to obtain a solid foundation of linguistic competency in at least one of the Romance languages that we have here at UBC. So that's another aspect, but it's very possible that many of you have already completed that requirement, as later Sophie will give you more information on. So in terms of the skills that you would be obtaining from doing major, minor, or honors in Romance Studies, one of the main ones is comparative analysis skills. And that comes, of course, from looking at this broad global perspective of the Romance-speaking world, cultural, textual, linguistic, visual, and film analysis, and as well research and documentation in multiple disciplines. Because as I mentioned, this is a very interdisciplinary major, minor, and honors program. So these are skills that are transferable to all kinds of careers, and we'll talk a little bit about possible career paths later on.
We're just going to take a look at what the credits might look like for those of you interested in a minor, major, and honors in Romance Studies. We'll go through each of the three programs to take a look at how those credit breakdowns might look and see where you might fit in. So first, we're going to take a look at a minor in RMST. This is a great opportunity to create your own path through flexible learning and courses that are really tailored to your interests and your background. There is a lower level requirement of 12 credits. 6 of those are language at the 100 level, and another 6 of those credits can be language at any level or RMST 201, 202, 260, or 280. For those of you who took language in high school, maybe that's Spanish 12 or French 12, you are automatically exempted from the first 6 credits of this lower level requirement. Rather than taking a 100 level French course or Spanish course, you've probably already satisfied this through your high school transcript. So those 6 credits automatically are waived. Now, for those of you who may have taken language in high school and have also furthered your studies here at UBC, chances are you've probably already satisfied the additional 6 credits of the lower level requirement. 6 credits from your high school language courses and 6 credits from your 200 or 300 level studies in the same language, or maybe even a different one. So for those of you who are listening and that sounds like you, instead of being a 30 credit minor, it's really only 18 credits because of the core requirements and cluster courses. So if we're looking at upper level requirements, there are 18 credits there, 9 credits of core courses, which are RMST 300, 301, 302. These are courses that are required for the minor. And then 9 credits from the cluster courses. As you can see, we have cluster R for Romance Studies, French Studies, an Italian Studies cluster, Portuguese Studies, Spanish Studies, and we're hoping to add an additional cluster of new languages soon. This can be a choose your own adventure style courses. If you want to take courses that are focused on French studies or Italian literature, maybe you want to take more comparative RMST courses, this is also an opportunity for you to do that. So it's very well like that many of you have already satisfied some of these lower level requirements. And so if that's the case, we'll have some advising opportunities at the end where you can reach out to us and we can take a look at your degree navigator and see where you might be in terms of a minor. Now, if you're looking at the minor and you're thinking, that's too easy, I feel like I've satisfied all these requirements already, maybe a major is the right thing for you. Still the same exemptions apply. So those still are 12 credits of lower level requirements. The language that can be exempted if you've taken 100 level, or maybe if you've taken it in high school. And then there's 6 credits of those 200 level studies in the language. And then we also have our upper level requirements, which instead of being 18 credits, this time it'll be 30 credits. Still those 3 core courses, RMST 300, 301, 302, and then cluster courses. Instead of being 9 credits, it's actually going to be 21. So if you like that choose your own adventure style or the topical courses, you just get to take more of those, which is wonderful. And for those of you who are planning to satisfy the Faculty of Arts language requirement with one of our language courses, as you know, it's usually around that 202, French 202, Italian 202, or Spanish 202, Portuguese 202 as well. Once you take those courses, you've also satisfied the Faculty of Arts language requirement. So we can kind of double count the requirements here. Before we get into the honors, I want to do a little bit of an example for you. We're going to talk about Carla. Carla completed French 12 in high school, and based on the French placement guideline, she advanced straight into French 301 and 302 and already completed these 2 courses in her first year. Now she's in her second year and trying to decide if she should major in Romance Studies. So for Carla, what does that major look like, given that she took French in high school and also took French 301 and 302? So right off the bat, Carla is going to have 0 credits from that lower level requirement. As we know, she's waived with a high school language, and now she's also taken those French 301 and 302. So she's already satisfied the required 6 credits. Those other 6 are waived. So she has 0 credits of lower level requirements left to complete. And what she has left are those upper level requirements, 30 credits. Of course, 9 credits from those RMST 300, 301, 302 cluster, and then 21 credits from the other clusters as well. Now let's look at Michael. Michael completed Spanish 11 in high school, and he also completed Spanish 101 and 102 in his first year. Now he's in his second year and thinking about minoring in Romance Studies. So for Michael, what does that look like? Of the lower level requirement, he only is required to complete 6 credits instead of the regular 12. As you can see, those 6 credits of language are exempted, or not exempted, but already met by him taking Spanish 101 and 102. The remaining 6 credits for language and cultural studies can be taken either with Spanish 201 or 202. Maybe Michael's interested in taking another 100 or 200 level language. That can work as well. Or he's interested in trying out RMST 201, 202, 260, or 280. Last would be his 18 credits of upper level requirements, those core courses yet again, and 9 credits from the clusters. Maybe you're looking at all of this and you're really interested in taking it just a step further. We do now have an honors program in RMST, which is a really wonderful opportunity to deepen your studies with Romance Studies, but to also think about potentially pursuing a graduate degree. Many students who are interested in pursuing grad studies do tend to find honors very interesting, as they do get to do an undergraduate thesis and do some sort of lower level research and writing. So an honors will be 60 credits. And as you can see here, this is the breakdown of the credits that are required. You have 6 credits of 200 level language, 6 credits of 300 level language. Of course, if you're coming in to the program with higher fluency, maybe you are at a 300 or 400 level French or Spanish proficiency, we can work with you to work on those credits and make them more flexible. So you don't need to think about going back down to the 200 level or taking the 200 level of a different course. You will have the opportunity for 6 credits, again, of 201, 202, 260, or 280, or another language course at any level. Maybe you want to deepen your knowledge of French or Spanish and take it to the 400 level or 300 level, or maybe you're really interested in trying out Italian or Catalan. That's also an option for you as well. We have core courses yet again, and also RMST 499, which is the honors essay course, where you will spend time in your second term writing your honors thesis with an honors thesis advisor. And last but not least, 30 clusters courses, 30 credits from the cluster courses yet again, the same cluster courses as we saw in the past. Now, there is an admissions process for the honors, and this is something that really interests you. And here are our requirements. You need to be at least in your 3rd year standing, or be entering your 3rd year. That's all right as well. And we're looking for a B+ average in your overall degree program. That's about a 76% average in your GPA. We do ask that you have already completed RMST 300, 301, and 302, and that you have completed the second half of those 200 level languages like French 202 or Italian 202, or demonstrated proficiency of A2 on the Common European Framework of Reference for Languages in at least one of these languages. So maybe you're already at the A2 level in Spanish or French, you don't have to worry about satisfying that 202 requirement. We've linked down here below. You can reach out to me if you're interested in completing an honors. I'll pass it off to Ellie to talk about our courses.
So I also noticed that there's a question. Maybe we can address it in just a few moments. But yes, feel free at different points to ask questions, write them down in the Q&A, and we'll be happy to address them. I just wanted to give you a quick overview of the 2023-2024 courses so that you have an idea of what we're working on. And so if you can pass to the next, oh, there we go, wonderful. So we have at the 200 level, basically all of these courses will be offered next year, 201, 202, which look at they're very survey focused, an introduction to literatures and cultures from medieval to early modern, and then from modern to postmodern. So usually term 1, you have 201, and term 2, you have 202. And so great courses if you want to get like a big broad overview. We also have an introduction to the Portuguese and Brazilian cultures, and a wonderful course, which is RMST 280, which is focusing on the Hispanic world and this idea of revolution. So in the next set of courses, so you can click on the next, oh, perfect. We offer next year all of our 300 level core courses, and these are the only sort of hard set requirements that you must fulfill to major, minor, or honors. And as you heard Sophie say many times, you know, it's like this and this, or this and this, or the word or has come up a lot. And that's partly because we wanted to give you flexibility, we wanted to give you options, we wanted to give you different paths. But we also want you to have very strong core competence in the skills that I mentioned earlier. So RMST 300 looks at the history of Romance languages. So it gives you this big, broad panorama from a linguistics approach. Then RMST 301 looks at prose fiction and nonfiction from different time periods. And 302 looks at theater and poetry. So you would have this really strong basis of knowledge for a variety of genres and varieties of languages of the Romance-speaking world. And last but not least, a variety of options of courses that you can take. And here is where it comes the, you know, sort of the choose your own adventure. You get courses in all the different clusters that we offer. So for example, we have one that is the first one, RMST 306. It's from the R cluster, and it's language, contact, and multilingualism in the Romance-speaking world. So if that's a topic that interests you, I highly recommend that course. We have some courses that then, for example, from the French cluster, which are French literature, Middle Ages to the Revolution, Québécois literature and culture. Then we have courses from the Italian cluster, such as Italian literature and culture from medieval to early modern, Italian fascism in interdisciplinary perspective, and then clusters as well from the Hispanic and the Spanish cluster, which is hopscotch topics in Hispanic literature, which varies every year, but is often related to different short stories and fascinating readings from literature of the Hispanic world. And RMST 373, which is masterpieces in Hispanic literature. And for next year, to give you a preview, next year the focus will be Don Quixote. So the famous novel by Cervantes. So upcoming courses, we're also creating a whole set of new courses to add to our different clusters and make them as rich as possible and as varied as possible. So we have one coming up in the near future called the Global Renaissance. We also have one on mapping gendered spaces. We have a summer program that is being run. It's being run this year. It's already full for this year, but if you would love to travel to Barcelona and take some classes, some culture, literature, and history classes in English about Barcelona, then start looking into it for next year, and that's RMST 390. And we have one that is on visions of nature and the environment, which is a very important topic for in current times, particularly. So we have, we're always also open to suggestions and ideas of what kinds of courses you would like to do, what kind of courses you're interested in, because we're a growing program and we take your feedback very seriously.
Next, we're going to go briefly over the types of careers students who have completed RMST have done in the past, or other students in FHIS might have completed. So in any sort of RMST kind of program, you're going to build quite a few transferable skills. First is going to be that language proficiency, which is incredibly important, something that will be very valuable in the job field and postgrad studies. Though it is not required to have a high level of fluency during RMST, we do find that many of our students end up having a very high level of proficiency in those Romance languages, at least one, sometimes multiple. If you're already studying those languages, you just get to take them to a higher level, or maybe even broaden your horizons and take a few. We also find that students are good at doing critical thinking and problem solving. They're also really talented at knowing international know-how. Maybe they go on exchange, they study the different cultures of the different regions. They also build cultural awareness, research skills, and great communication skills, which apply to a very many number of careers. We find that students who complete an RMST major or minor sometimes end up in government and politics, foreign or public service, translation, which is quite common, teaching, academia, and research. They end up in the psychology field. They do end up also in nonprofit and humanitarianism fields, journalism, law, business and project management, HR management, public relations, and cultural organizations. This was taken on, based on a survey that we've been sending out all to our alumni. So these are very real careers. And if you're interested in how an RMST degree might help you achieve some of these things, please do reach out to us. We're happy to link you in with some of the alumni who've completed the same degree that you have. Next, we are going to hear from one of our alumni. It's actually a video that we'll pull up here on YouTube to talk about the cultural studies that they completed. Just give me 1 second here while I pull it up.
My name is Astrid Kairabetia, and I graduated from UBC with a Bachelor of Arts in Spanish and International Relations. I think learning Spanish was one of the most useful hard skills that I gained out of my undergrad. I think it opened a lot of doors for me down the line. So in undergrad, I was able to go on exchange in Spain for a semester. And then after that, I was able to intern at the Embassy of Canada in Chile through co-op. Being in an environment where I had to just go about my daily life in another language, I think that really forced me to get over the inhibitions and kind of insecurities and just force myself to do it and get better. I've surprisingly been able to bring that into law school and experiences that I've had there as well. So I'm interested in international law and human rights. So last summer I went back to Chile, working at another organization that does research on judicial systems and judicial reform in Latin America. As far as the Spanish major, my analysis skills were really built up with my classes, especially analyzing literature and having to think really creatively about things that are pretty abstract, and that skill I find has been really useful in law school. Also just the amount of reading that you have to do within an arts degree, that's actually really helpful. It means that you're not really scared of, piles of reading anymore. So I think there's a lot of value in an arts degree because of those things. I think the biggest challenge is not knowing if what you're doing is what you should be doing and if it's the right step for you. For current students, definitely I would advise to take advantage of all of the opportunities that are available. Getting involved outside of classes, going on exchange, doing co-op, all things that I didn't really think through that well maybe before I did it, but ended up being really transformative experiences. I mean, I don't know what would have happened in the parallel universe, but I'm happy with the way things turned out.
Just bear with me while we get ourselves back set up here. I'm just going to quickly pop through. Great, so you got to hear from one of our alumni who's pursuing grad studies and has done a really great job with their Spanish degree. They also took some RMST courses while they were here as well. Next, I'm just going to link our Learning Center here. FHIS has a specific tutoring center for students who are in the FHIS department, whether that's Romance Studies, French Studies, Italian Studies, Portuguese, all the lot. This is a space developed and designed to help you build your language competencies. You don't need to be registered in a language course currently, but we have a whole host of tutors available upstairs in Buchanan Tower who are really here to help you study for your language courses, to help you build that competency. We have group conversation sessions and one-on-one sessions. And your tutors are sometimes your TAs, sometimes they're other classmates or grad students. It's a really great way to get to know the other students in the Learning Center. If you're also interested in being a tutor for the Learning Center, you're more than welcome to reach out. We're always looking to involve new students as a way to grow their volunteer portfolio, give them some tutoring skills, and also give them the opportunity to do some teaching. This is a free space for you, so you don't ever have to worry about paying. There's a Canvas site that you can book your sessions through, and we're open all year round through the exam season and even in through the summer. If this is something that might be interested to you, I really encourage you to check it out. It's a very wonderful way to build your skills and meet other colleagues. And last but not least, for advising, both Elizabeth and I are here to help support you. You can always contact us at fhis.undergrad@ubc.ca. Come visit us at Buchanan Tower 716, or even check out our frequently asked questions online or book an appointment through our booking platform. If you are interested today and want to know what an RMST major or minor might really look like for you, we can model it based on the courses that you're currently taking. We can sit down, look at how many credits you have left to go, how many courses you need to take, and we're both here to help you with course planning and to be successful. With that, we're probably going to pause for a second and just jump into those question and answers. I see two of them. I'm happy to jump into the first question, which we're talking about those lower level requirements. So Brianna, it depends if you're talking about a major or a minor, but let's go back and look at both of those together to clarify. Thanks for letting us know. So we don't need to look at Michael's situation specifically. We can just go back to the regular page. All right, so if we're looking at a minor in RMST and you've completed French 12, for example, which is great. So because you've completed French 12, the first 6 credits are completely exempt from you. That language of 6 credits will be exempt because of your French 12 background. So you do have 6 credits left in the language and cultural studies, of which you could do a few things. You could take RMST 201, 202, 260, or 280, or you could take Spanish 101, 102. You could take French 301, 302, It can be a language at any level. It doesn't need to be a continuation of the language you use towards the first 6 credits, or it could be. It's really up to you. But for you specifically, Brianne, you can take a 100 level Spanish course to satisfy the remaining 6 credits of the minor. Now, if we're talking about a major that does look a little bit different, let me just click into it here. The first 6 credits, your French 12 will exempt you from these 6 credits here as well. That's specific towards your placement in French, so you're good to go. So again, it's very similar in that you could take Spanish 101, 102, or you could take French 301, 302. You could take French 401, 402. It's really up to you. I hope that helps answer your question a little bit. Let's look at that second question. I think that's a great question for you, Elizabeth.
Yes, I'd be happy to give some feedback on that. So, so the 300, 301, and 302, they do cover literature and prose in a variety of Romance languages. So this it depends partly on the instructor, but normally, at the very least, they cover Spanish, Portuguese, French, and Italian. So you'll get different texts in different genres. So it's not always just prose, right? I mean, there's theater, which, right, drama is a little bit different. Of course, it's written, but you could also see the performances. There's poetry, and so those courses, yes, will have a variety of languages, and that's why they're partly emphasize those skills of comparative analysis. You'll be able to jump back and forth between different languages, different historical contexts, different cultural contexts as well, and get this very broad view, this global perspective. Now, in terms of translations, all of the courses that are Romance Studies that are RMST labeled are in English. So all of the texts are in translation. It's only for the language classes, for example, right, that you see that they start with French, Ital, Port. Those are language courses. Those are taught in those languages, but the rest of the courses don't require any language background. You can, take them because you're interested in them, and even the linguistic courses, of course, having a little bit of background in one of the Romance languages will make it easier and enrich your learning opportunities, but you can still sort of get your feet wet on that perspective, but everything is in translation, in English translation. Let's see. Does that answer the question, hopefully? And if not, feel free to add additional comments about it, and I'm happy to give me more feedback. But one of the possibilities as well, for those of you that are on the opposite scale, that you do have high language competency, we also allow credit, for example, if you take courses that are fully in Spanish at the 300, 400 level. Let's say you want to take a course that is Latin American literature in Spanish. We would allow credit for that for the upper level requirements. So if you have the language competency, you're not just limited to the courses that are in English, you can also take courses in the core languages themselves. So that's why I highly, highly recommend you make an appointment, you come see us, you knock on our door in Buchanan Tower, because there's many options and many paths. And you might already have completed most of the requirements or a good chunk of the requirements that are needed. And then you can, share with us what are your interests. Are you more into the cultural aspects, more into the linguistic, more into the literary, the comparative, and we can, guide you through this variety of courses that we offer so that you get exactly that, more of what you're looking for.
That's a really great point. I really appreciate you sharing that, because it is true that an RMST major or minor has the opportunity to be really, really flexible for you. And I didn't even think to mention that if you take those 300 or 400 literature courses in French or Spanish, that we're always happy to make those work towards your RMST degree as well. If you have any other questions, we'll give you just a few more seconds to answer them, a few more minutes to ask them. And you can always follow up with us afterwards via email if you have a more specific question or you don't want to reach out here. We're always happy to help. I think that's probably just about it. Is there anything else you'd like to share today?
I think we've covered everything unless there are any like specific questions about any of the aspects that we commented on.
Yeah.
But as I mentioned, we also welcome very much those one-on-one visits, so we can give you the best advice as possible. And we thank you very much for attending today. We know it's a beautiful sunny day, and to be on Zoom is not always the nicest, but we appreciate that you made time to come and see us and hear more about the opportunities of romance studies.
Oh, looks like we got 2 more questions that just
yes.
Look at that. I love it.
Okay.
Just give me 1 more second. I'm going to share my screen so we can look at them together a little bit. Let's see, make sure you're looking at the right screen here. Perfect. So, Sophia, it looks like we're saying here, hi, I didn't take Spanish in high school, but I took 301 this year after taking the placement test. Which classes would I have to take for a minor or a major? What a really great question. So for a minor, I'll let you in all to a little bit of a secret. Minors in the Faculty of Arts need to be 30 credits. But of those 30 credits, 18 of them must be at the 300 level or above, and the remaining 12 can really be exempted depending on your understanding, your proficiency, or your background. So Sophia, in your case, in a minor, these 6 credits, we are able to exempt you from them. That's not a requirement for you because of your proficiency. What you would be using is those 301 and maybe a 302 towards the 6 credits of the language and cultural studies here. So instead of taking RMST 201, 202, 260, 280, you would be able to jump right on in with your Spanish and use it to work for you. Now, for looking at a major, the same thing still applies because you're pre-approved. You've already surpassed the 200 level. So you wouldn't need to worry about the first 6 credits, but the second 6 credits, you could use the Spanish there. I hope that helps answer your question. It doesn't necessarily, when we say if you've taken, French 12 or Spanish 12, what that means to us is which language course are you proficient in here at UBC. So we don't really use that credit to exempt you, but if you're coming in with more than 100 or 200 level proficiency, we're not going to hinder you for that. We're going to support you and help you make those credits work best for you. I hope that helps answer your question. And it looks like we have a question also to look here at the last slide for contact information. Oh. There it is. You can go ahead and take note of that. We'll give you just a few more seconds if there's any other questions. Seems like a couple of them popped in here just at the last minute. Thanks for those great questions. All right. With that being said, it was really great to have you all here. We appreciate your time and energy to spend with us this afternoon. I hope you get the chance to go outside, enjoy the blue skies and some fresh air. I know exam season's coming up, so I hope you're all getting some good rest, preparing well. We're here to support you, and we just thank you for being here today.
Thank you, everyone.
All right.